The 2023 NFL Draft is officially in the books for the Dallas Cowboys, and tonight we will react to each and every one of the Cowboys draft picks. We will also talk about some of the day three prospects too, and of course, maybe just one undrafted free agent for now. But I'm going to tell you about one that I think we should all watch out for because he fits what this team loves to do. So, without any further ado, let's get right to it. Here we go. Yo, what is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. You know it. Check out a2csports.com/Dallas. And let me tell you something. We've got an undrafted free agent tracker going on over there, put together by Matthew Lennox. Shout out to him. And we also have a roster reset thing going. So if you want to go over the entire Cowboys roster and see what each position looks like right now, you can do so over at a2csports.com/Dallas. So make sure you go check that out. And I'm sure that at some point this week, I'm going to try to do it as early as possible. We're going to do a roster projection as well to see, how many of these draft picks we are expecting they stick around or not, etc. So we'll get into all of that throughout the week. For now, though, we need to react to the Cowboys draft class. By the way, prime time brought to you by our friends over at freemanmazda.net. We will talk more about them and the ride of the week in a few moments here on the show. Let's get to it, though. Let's get to it for now, though. I have not seen all of you since Wednesday night. And the last time that I talked to you, my prediction for the Cowboys' first-round pick was tight end, Michael Mayer. And what do you know? When the Cowboys go on the clock at 26th overall on Thursday night, he is right there on the board. I was kind of pretty sure that was what the Cowboys were going to do. But then they shocked us. They shocked us with a defensive pick, and it was none other than Mazi Smith, defensive tackle out of Michigan. My first question from me to you is, what is one word to describe your reaction to the Cowboys' first-round draft pick? Let me know in the chat. We'll get into each of and every one of those. I'm going to tell you why I think that the Cowboys nailed this one. Shout out to Chris. Thank you for joining the show. We've got Anthony. We've got Tommy915. Who else is around here? We've got Charlene Evans, Mark, Aaron, Bruce, Toxic Tom, Blue Dabs. Shout out to you who says, what happens first? Cowboys win a Super Bowl or Mo gets facial hair. Oh, man, I missed y'all. All right, what's one word? What's one word for the Cowboys' first-round pick? Let's see here. Rita goes with need, and that is right. We can get that out of the way. There is a lot to talk about when you discuss a draft pick. It's not only about whether or not it fills a need. It's also about best player available, positional value, blah, blah, blah. But there is no question that the Cowboys filled a massive need with the addition of Mazi Smith. And I'm going to say this. I love Jonathan Hankins, but there is something that Mazi Smith brings to the table that Hankins doesn't. They are both going to feed off of each other. And I think even though they're both nose tackles, I think that they're going to do a very, very good 1-2 combo. And I'll get into one of the reasons why I believe that in a little bit here. But first, let me see some other of your answers around here. Travis says fantastic. Newman, Newman says is smart, acceptable for Gregory, groundbreaking, says Toxic Tom. Oh, he's actually not Toxic Tom right now. He's all in Tom once more. Necessity for Holly. Katara goes with awesome. I'm going to go with powerful just because that is what I think when I look at Mazi Smith, but also I'm going to say shocking. And I'm going to say shocking because indeed the Cowboys fooled everybody. It was Thursday. It was Thursday, and Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Dane Brugler. Who else am I missing here? Charles Davis and Daniel Jeremiah. 5 of the top insiders, and I'm guessing there were even more than that, but those are the ones that I can think of right now. They all had a tight end for the Cowboys at number 26. And some of them had Dalton Kincaid, some others had Michael Mayer, and then there was even Luke Musgrave in a couple of those mocks. So it kind of sounded like, okay, this is out of the bag. Everyone around the league knows it. The Cowboys want a tight end. And then at number 2, and then to further that feeling, the Buffalo Bills jump up from 27th to 25th. They cut in line in front of the Cowboys, and they grabbed Dalton Kincaid. It all just felt so clear. Michael Mayer was still there. The Cowboys allegedly loved him. There was no way in hell, Matt Miller quoted that for ESPN, that there was no way in hell that the Cowboys passed on Michael, and then they did. It was a perfect smokescreen at the end of the day. We were believing it. We were buying into that storyline, and then the Cowboys ended up fooling everybody. I don't think that the Cowboys would have picked Kincaid if he was there. I've seen that narrative form on Twitter. I don't buy into it at all. I think that the Cowboys were fixated on their pick. And then there was this storyline as well about, the Cowboys should have waited. They could have gotten Mazi Smith later in the draft. They should have traded back. And then Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com, no C, shout out to him. He does a fantastic job covering the Cowboys. He reveals that the Chiefs called the Cowboys. They fielded the call, and the Chiefs wanted to trade up, right? And then when they try to trade up, in the phone call, they reveal, the thing is we're targeting Mazi. And maybe the Chiefs thought that the Cowboys were not on that sweepstakes, on those sweepstakes. They revealed they want Mazi, and the Cowboys go like, oh, man, that's the thing. We also want him. That nixes the trade down possibility. The Cowboys get Mazi Smith, and I'm going to tell you something. I love it. I love it on several levels. First of all, I like the player. I get some of the people's concerns. I think that the big concern collectively with Mazi is that you watch the tape and you might feel a little bit underwhelmed with his pass rush skills. I don't think that you see him win a lot of ways when it comes to pass rushing. He does win. He does win several of those occasions. And I think that a lot of people get very fixated on the fact that he had half a sack in 2022, but he had like 25 pressures, and he was second on Michigan in QB pressures. The thing is, he doesn't finish those sacks. Now, I'm not saying that's not an issue. All I'm saying is he does win. He does win when he tries to get after the quarterback. Maybe what is a little bit underwhelming about his tape in that sense is that he always kind of wins the same way, in my opinion, and that is with power, just tossing the offensive lineman aside thanks to his violent and strong hands, because he generates movement. One of the quotes that has flown around social media since he said it in the press conference, he said, when I get my hands on people, they usually go backwards. And you can see that on tape. You can see that every time that he does get his hands on people. And I think that's something that it isn't talked about enough, is that he does that frequently because he has long arms. His arms are over 33 inches long, which is pretty good for a defensive tackle. And even though I understand the concerns about his pass rush skills, I also see what Will McClay means when he says that they believe it also has to do with how Michigan used him, the stance that he worked with when he was with the Wolverines, and they believe they can translate him into a pass rusher as well. That is the number one reason why I like the pick. He's a good player, period. And I can see him winning. One of the things, as I said, that I don't like is the pass rush stuff, but it's that. I want to be very clear that it's that I would like to see him win more ways. Just keeping it real, right? That's the one thing that I don't like. But I love how powerful he is. He's ridiculously strong. You probably have heard this 100 times already, but he was number one in Bruce Feldman's freaks list last season before the 2022 college football season because he's insanely strong and he can win with power that way. Having said that, I would like to see more explosion as well, right out of the stance. There were some reps here and there, and I've watched 3 games, just 3 games from Mazi Smith. I'm gonna put that on record here. I've watched the Ohio State game, the TCU game, and the Penn State game. Those are the 3 games that I've watched from Mazi. There are some reps here and there that he's painfully slow out of the stance, but I don't think that it's a deal breaker for me. I really like Mazi Smith. Now, let's talk about him on the Cowboys specifically, right? One of the things, and I didn't really catch this is from Dane Brugler's draft guide, but one of the things that Dane Brugler said on his draft guide, and I got to rewatch that to maybe kind of focus and zero in on that, is that he takes some plays off. Dane Brugler says that to conserve energy, he maybe doesn't go all in every single snap. But let me tell you something. Mazi Smith averaged 45 snaps per game with Michigan. He's not going to average that when he gets to the Dallas Cowboys. So if you can get a fresh Jonathan Hankins and a fresh Mazi Smith every time as your nose tackle, then you're onto something. That's the number 2 thing that I like about this player, obviously. Now, for the big one. You know what? I don't even need Mazi Smith to show me the refined handwork. I don't need him to show me that he can beat an offensive lineman one-on-one, this and that and the other way. And I don't need him to show me all of these crafty moves to get to the passer. You know what I need him to do? I need him to take on double teams and allow Micah Parsons and allow the Marcus Lawrence to do their thing on the edges one-on-one. Maybe not even on the edges. Maybe, as we saw time and time again with the Cowboys last year and the year before that, Lawrence isolated on the guard while Micah Parsons takes on the tackle. And good luck to you sliding the center when you've got Mazi Smith head up on him in a passing situation, because that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If we learned something about Dan Quinn over the last couple of years, is that he does not sleep. You might get 8 hours of sleep. He probably spends that all night long drawing up new ways to generate pressure and create one-on-ones in his pressure packages. That's what I want from Mazi Smith. I think that the Cowboys are going to get exactly that. And of course, I think he's going to develop quite nicely. I don't know if he will be working with the same coach that, for example, has worked with Oza Odighizuwa, has worked with Marcus Lawrence, is currently working with Isaac Alarcon. We had him on the show. We had some clips of him on the show. But all of these Cowboys, just like the offensive linemen work with Duke Manyweather, several Dallas Cowboys work with Brandon Tucker out of Trench Warfare. I could see him also getting his hands on Mazi Smith and bringing his game to another level too. Pretty cool. I love the draft pick, as you can see. Swain says facts, Mo. And I think that was when I was talking about the amount of snaps that Mazi Smith is going to be playing with the Cowboys. Shout out to Cowboys Corner. Thank you. He's the best in the game. Rodriguez, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Nicola says Deuce Vaughn was the best pick of the draft. And we're going to get to Deuce Vaughn in a second here. Small running back, made it to Dallas after all. Loved that pick too. I loved it. Let's see here. I wish Dallas could have tried to select a quarterback. Would have been nice, says Dwayne. And I think they likely would have considered it. But there was a point in which there was just a very, very intense run at the QBs, and they were just off the board between Cowboys picks. So maybe that was the reason behind that. Man, I don't know how many of you tuned into the draft show on Friday, but I kind of got nervous in the third round when Brian brought us. No, it was the second round actually. Casually brings up Hendon Hooker's name and then starts insisting on it over and over again. And I was like, damn it. They're about to pick Hendon Hooker with their second round pick. I don't know if that happened to you guys when you were watching the draft show, but I always tune into the draft show because I love watching the war room, right? And I started to get nervous and nervous because I wouldn't have been able to get through all of the Dak Prescott hate if there was a second round pick to quote unquote compete with him. It would have been a little bit stressful, I think, to get through that. But obviously, the Cowboys ended up drafting none other than Luke Schoonmaker, the tight end out of Michigan. So that is two Wolverines heading to the Dallas Cowboys. Schoonmaker, a little bit of a surprise. A little bit of a surprise to many because he just was not on on the radar for those tight ends that we were talking about with the Cowboys. We entered day one thinking about Kincaid, Mayer, maybe, just maybe, Darnell Washington. And even on that same day, we kind of learned about the possibility of Sam Laporta going round one, Luke Musgrave potentially going round one. And then you kind of had the same guys on mind for day two of the 2023 NFL draft, specifically round two. Because as Schoonmaker in the third round, I don't think nobody would have batted an eye. I think that the thing with Schoonmaker, the thing that has generated a little bit of controversy is the fact that he was the second round pick. But man, it's quite easy to understand if we are being real here. First of all, many of the other big name tight ends were already off the board. And even though it wasn't necessarily true that they were thinking tight end or nothing in the first round, it maybe was true that they looked at it as a very real need for the team. More than the fans who are pretty much all in Jake Ferguson. So the Cowboys probably knew we wanted tight end, and they thought the value was good in the second round. And here's why it makes sense to me. And I have not watched, like formally, I have not watched Schoonmaker's tape, but I do know that he is the prototype of what Mike McCarthy describes as his why. He almost gave Schoonmaker's measurables in the pre-draft press conference. He said, we cannot have enough 6'5" guys. Schoonmaker is exactly that. And he is the why player that McCarthy described. When he was in college, he essentially played that position for Michigan. Most of the times, he was the inline blocker with the team. He had some slot snaps. He had some snaps out of the slot, but not a lot of them. Like you watch his tape, and it's mostly him in line. Gonna be 25 years old. Most of you probably have already heard that concern. I mean, I'm not gonna fixate a lot in his age personally, but this guy can be the tight end that the Cowboys want him to be. He's got the size. He can be a blocker. And I'm not gonna lie. You can question the value where he was drafted, but I don't see a lot of holes in his game. I don't see him excel in anything specifically, but I don't see a lot of holes in his game. And that's probably what the Cowboys want. Now, on a similar note, I kind of have to be honest with you, and I have to say, I have trouble hating on a tight end pick for the same front office that found Dalton Schultz in the fourth round, found Jake Ferguson, in the fourth round, and found Peyton Hendershot as an undrafted free agent. They have earned my trust when it comes to tight ends. They have earned my trust when it comes to everybody, to be honest. This team has been a very good drafting team for years now. That being said, I do want to read you somebody that's smarter than me, Dane Brugler, out of The Athletic, what his summary says about Luke Schoonmaker. Now, as you guys know, we're old school here on Prime Time. So guess what I did? Yes, sir. I printed out the draft guide for Dane Brugler, and of course, I have my post-its here. I'm gonna show you that because you guys enjoy making fun of me because I'm nerdy like that. That being said, also we need to give credit to Londa Wells, man, the tight end coach for the Cowboys. Like that is a guy. That is a guy that also deserves some credit and some respect. Here it goes. This is the summary. Overall, Schoonmaker is only average in most areas, but he has the size, speed, and strength to be a solid possession receiver and positional blocker. His well-rounded game will help him become a steady number 2 and potential number 1 tight end for an NFL team. Man, I like that description. I like that description because even though I want a Travis Kelce, I want a maybe even like a George Kittle, this impressive tight end out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know that the Cowboys want that. And that was kind of my thing when we were talking about potentially re-signing Dalton Schultz. I thought, well, maybe he isn't that top 5 tight end that you see in the NFL right now, but do the Cowboys need him to be? Because the Cowboys just want a Y tight end, a regular traditional Y tight end. And I think they got one with Luke Schoonmaker. Now, one of my big things during the pre-draft process was, let's not act like Jake Ferguson will keep you from drafting a tight end. That was one of my big things going into the draft because I saw way too many people kind of like assume that the Cowboys did not need another tight end because they already had Ferguson. And I was like, man, we have not even seen 30 catches out of the guy. So I cannot reach that conclusion. He didn't play 40% of the snaps last year. That being said, I also don't think that we can make Luke Schoonmaker the starting tight end out of nowhere. And I can tell you right now, that is the one positional battle that I am looking forward to watching the most this offseason. Because I think chances are you get kind of like you get kind of like a 50-50 split between these two, but one of them is probably gonna beat out the other at some point in the year. Looking forward to watching that battle play out. Let's see some of your comments here before we move on to not day 3, round 3 actually. Jack the Toxic Cactus says, wasted second and third round pick. I don't see that personally. I don't see Luke Schoonmaker being a wasted pick. And I can tell you, these NFL teams liked the tight ends. Like it was noticeable. Even after Schoonmaker was drafted, for example, Brenton Strange was drafted in the second round, the tight end out of Penn State. The Jaguars did draft him. Like these teams liked the class. Let's see here. Cowboys Corner says, can 5 people click like? Thank you to Cowboys Corner. We are 200 people combining Facebook and YouTube. So do me a favor. We've got 36 likes. Let's get that number up. If you like the show, if you enjoy being here, do me a favor and let's drive those likes up a little bit here on the show. I would greatly appreciate it because it helps us put this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans. Blue Dab says, damn, Mo got real graphics and not flashcards. I'm kind of impressed. Not going to lie, you're not going to see any other graphic other than this. But I usually have some ready to go. Now, obviously, as Toxic Tommy saying here, Mike loves 12 personnel. Both Ferguson and Shoemaker, I love that people are going to call him Shoemaker, fit what Mike's West Coast offense needs. And not only that, like, sure, Kellen Moore is not going to be driving this offense anymore, but do you think the Cowboys are going to look at the success that they had with those 13 and 14 personnel groupings near the goal line and move on from those packages? I don't think so. Even if Kellen Moore is not around anymore, that is something that you should keep moving forward, right? Got fullback from Notre Dame State, says John in the Facebook chat. I am quite behind in the undrafted free agents, like in terms of knowing what to tell y'all. But somebody said, "What do you mean one undrafted free agent to watch down here?" It's just one that I have in mind, like the one name that kind of got me thinking, and I have something to share with you. Wrote an article about it for adcsports.com/Dallas in case you want to check it out too. Now, moving on to round number 3, the Cowboys drafted linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. And I don't think it was surprising. I don't think that one was surprising. We've seen Overshown drafted to the Cowboys quite a few times before the NFL draft actually started. He was a third visit. He was pretty much a Dan Quinn type guy. And that is why I'm excited about it. I was very excited in day 2 when Trenton Simpson was falling. And then you also had, who else was falling? Drew Sanders was falling. Jack Campbell obviously went first round. That was a big surprise. But a lot of these guys were falling and falling. And I was getting very excited because I was thinking, man, the Cowboys are going to get their linebacker. And then there was a run at the position. They were pretty much all gone. And Overshown remained available for the Cowboys at number 90. That was one of my few guesses during the draft process. Like I was like, hey, if the Cowboys want a linebacker, they clearly like Overshown. Ended up taking him. Here's why I like it. For those of you that maybe have not followed his career in college football, he was a 4-star recruit out of high school. He was offered scholarships by Alabama. He was offered scholarships by Clemson, Ohio State, LSU. And here's why I am calling him a Dan Quinn guy. Because not because he's a defensive player, he's immediately a Dan Quinn guy. But he's a safety converted to linebacker. So he might be undersized as a linebacker. That's one of the biggest knocks on him. But he's also kind of like a safety at the same time. And I kind of look at, what Dan Quinn has done with Jaron Kears, what he has done with Keanu Neal, even like earlier in his tenure as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. And he likes to play positionless football. He likes to have Kears in this linebacker / safety role, in which he can also be the nickel defender. He can do a lot of that. Overshown has the tools to do exactly that. And I think that a lot of people are kind of like knocking him because he's undersized to be a linebacker, but he also does not have the coverage skills to be a safety, and he's going to need some development. There's no question about that. But when you see him have to break outside to defend an outside run and get to the running back, he can do so in great speed, great explosion, and great range, because he's like a center fielder safety doing his thing. He's only doing it as a linebacker. I've seen very bad reps from him versus climbing offensive linemen, and that will be an issue. He's not a perfect prospect, but I like the fact that he's a Dan Quinn type guy. Now, one thing that I loved, kind of like reading Dane Brugler's draft guide, by the way, so I got to give credit to him in that. As I said, definitely smarter than me. He says in his summary, he calls DeMarvion Overshown a potential rush / drop linebacker in the NFL. And man, do I love thinking about that on Dan Quinn's defense. Because you might ignore this, because I know there are some Leighton Vander Esch haters out there, and I'm just talking about a specific group of people. Do not worry. Not talking about Cowboys fans in general. But I saw Dan Quinn make Leighton Van Der Esch an impact in the pass rush last year. And I don't think any of us could have imagined that. But he just had him kind of walk up to the line of scrimmage, be mucked up over the center, and made the center commit with that first step in pass protection and then free up the rest of the defenders. Imagine that with a guy that can also be a legitimate threat as a blitzer like the Marvion Overshone, because he can get involved in the pass rush plan. Now, I don't see him as a consistent edge rusher. I'm just saying Dan Quinn can get real creative with the Marvion Overshone, and as long as he becomes more disciplined, as long as he is able to not get caught in traffic in against climbing offensive linemen, he could be an impact maker early on. That being said, though, probably will only make an impact at first as a special teamer, because there's clearly some stuff in there that is still a concern. The Cowboys already have their guys at linebacker. All in Toxic Tom says, Mo, I think that Overshone is a curious replacement. Like if they found that guy in this year's draft class, he is definitely it. He is definitely it. We talked about that heading into the draft here on Primetime. One of the things that the Cowboys were apparently looking for was that Jaron Kearse replacement, because they had 30 visits with guys that fitted the mold. They visited with Trenton Simpson, who was like this linebacker, but I look like a safety type player. They visited with Martin Mapu, who the New England Patriots ended up drafting. They visited with there were a couple of other names that kind of fit that mold. So I 100% agree with Toxic Tom. He might be that. He might be that insurance policy in case you are not able to retain Jaron Kearse next offseason, because he's about to play in a contract year, and you already paid Donovan Wilson a 3-year deal. Are you also going to pay Jaron Kearse? It's not going to be easy to do that. So it could be that. It could be that. By the way, Dan Quinn, bro, Dan Quinn had himself a weekend. We talked a lot about, this has got to be an offensive draft going into Thursday, blah, blah, blah. Whew. The Cowboys drafted a lot of defensive players, a lot of Dan Quinn guys. I love it. Alan, thank you for joining the show. Alan says, Primero Cowboys presente. Saludos, Mau. Saludos, Alan. Thank you so much for joining the show. He also follows my show in Spanish over at Primero Cowboys. In case you're ever interested in that, you can go check that out. That is my own YouTube channel, and I've got a Cowboys in Spanish show going on over there. The Lunatic says, Mauricio, feliz día de los niños. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. Go Cowboys. Yeah, it is. It is. How do you call that in English? Like Children's Day, the April 30th. Does it even exist in the USA? Am I making a very, very dumb question? Because this just popped into my head. But anyways, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat right now, looking at the screen right now, because we are done with day 1 and day 2, excuse me. Let me know who is or who was your favorite day 3 pick, because the Cowboys drafted Viliami Fehoko in the 4th round. They drafted offensive lineman Asim Richards out of North Carolina, Eli Scott Jr., the cornerback out of Southern Miss, running back Deuce Vaughn in the 6th round, and then they closed things out by drafting Jalen Brooks in the 7th round. Who was your favorite pick of day 3? Let me know in the chat while you do that. And before I give you mine, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net. Because as always, you can check out the ride of the week over at their website. But you can also visit their dealership over at Irving, Texas. This is a family-owned business, has been so for over 65 years. And you can check out all of their wide range and new and used vehicles over at freemanmazda.net. freemanmazda.net. And around as we do around this time, every single night here on Prime Time, it is time for us to get into the Freeman Mazda Ride of the Week. It is time for us to talk about the 2023 Mazda MX-5 Miata RF Grand Touring. Let me talk to you about the features of this car. It's got Apple CarPlay / Android Auto. It's got a manual transmission, convertible roof, premium audio for you to listen to Prime Time in its podcast version, blind spot monitor, and a miles per gallon capacity of 26 in the city. That goes up to 34 when you are in the highway. So make sure that you check out the Freeman Mazda Ride of the Week over at freemanmazda.net. Shout out to them for making this show possible. Let's see who you've got. Favorite day 3 pick. Let's see here. I'm going to go up in the comments here because I missed a lot of them. Oh, shout out to Payo, by the way. Payo says, I also follow both shows, both my English one here on Prime Time, obviously, and the one that I do in Spanish over at Primero Cowboys. So shout out to Payo. Let's see here. Deuce, says El Tino. Deuce is loose, says John. Lance is Deuce Vaughn. That's easy, says Mark Aaron. Deuce Vaughn. David Sherman, thank you. Thank you. What's up, little buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Shout out to David. Thank you for being here. And I love the running back we took. Vaughn is getting the majority of the votes here on Prime Time so far. Jeremy also goes with Deuce. Richards says Swain, and I can see the love for Richards personally. That would be my second pick if I had to also give you my second pick. Because my first one, I'm not gonna lie, like it's gotta be Deuce. Now, maybe not in terms of like the impact that I think he's gonna make in 2023, but it's just like a sexy pick. It's a sexy pick and it's an emotional pick. First off, you're getting a playmaker at running back. and he's fun to watch. Like he's insanely fun to watch. He's in the zero percentile in terms of height. He's the shortest ever prospect measured in the combine. Toxic Tom said, Mo, please tell me that you are taller than Deuce Vaughn. Earlier on the show, I couldn't get to that question, but here's the answer to that. No, I am not. I am 2 centimeters shorter than Deuce Vaughn. And I'm using the metric system. I do not care. That's what I can tell you. Deuce says Gilbert as well. Somebody also said Fehoko. I think it was Charlene Evans. So I respect that too. Eternal says Vaughn and Fehoko. I have not seen personally Viliami Fehoko, but let's go in order here. Thank you for your answers, everybody. Thank you for your answers. We're not gonna dive very in depth to these players just yet. We're gonna save that throughout the week. But Viliami Fehoko, what you need to know is he got 7 sacks in 2021 and he got 9 sacks in 2022. 5 forced fumbles in his career, 47 tackles for loss. This is the quote that to me makes me buy into Viliami Fehoko, and this is from Dane Brugler. Fehoko always has a backup plan to his backup plan. Why? Because he's got a pass rush repertoire, because he has refined handwork. And even though he doesn't have the bend, even though he doesn't have the elite athleticism or anything like that, he can win thanks to his handwork. This is very important because for him to enter the NFL as a technician, it might mean that he can contribute as a backup, as a rotational player, but right away. That's what I like about Fehoko. That's what I love personally. I will also add this. There's always this comment that coaches make just about every year around the NFL about how hard it is to teach players during the offseason programs. Like, once you get to training camp, the teaching is all done. Like, the teaching happened in May, in April, right when they were drafted. And maybe some of them also work on the side with private coaches like Duke Manyweather for the offensive line. We mentioned this earlier. Brandon Tucker for the defensive line. Maybe they do that, but uh, having him enter the NFL with refined handwork is important for sure. Richards is a guy that many people think he's not ready to go yet in the NFL. I wonder if transitioning him to guard would make things easier. Cowboys offensive line coach Mike Solari said that that could be the plan for the team, having him play inside. They look at him as a guy capable of doing both. And even though he played 37 games as the left tackle for North Carolina, they believe he can also transition to the right side of things if needed. So, offensive line pick, hard to hate it. Richards is a big guy. He could earn a role pretty quickly. And he's got 34-inch arms, so he definitely can play tackle. Dane Brugler likes his pass pro skills. And here's one more nugget for you. Started 34 consecutive games. So availability, not really an issue for Richards. Eric Scott was a surprise of the draft. Even more so because they traded up for the guy. They drafted him, and a lot of people were not ready. We're not ready to hear that name. A little bit after the pick, it was made clear why. This guy has, this guy has long arms. In fact, he had the third longest wingspan of any of the prospects this year at cornerback. And he was a visit for the Cowboys. Here's a crazy story, though. Here's a crazy story that Eric Scott revealed after being drafted by the Cowboys. He has his third visit with Dallas, and they ask him to send them a video of him doing defensive back drills. So he gets to work and he sends them a video that is actually on YouTube. If you go into YouTube and you search for Eric Scott, and I have not seen any film of him, by the way, because I see Chris Graham's tweet comment right there, and I agree with it. Like, I have not seen any film from him. But he uploaded that defensive back film, and it's just drills. April 21st. I don't know if he was asked this as a follow-up or not, but this was an April 21st upload, and it's supposedly the video that he sent the Cowboys. So I don't know if he literally sent that video the 21st of April, because if he did, and then he was drafted a week later, that is an awesome story. Awesome story. Dan Quinn type player. We'll see if he makes the roster. We'll see. Deuce Vaughn, obviously, we already talked about him a little bit here on the show. I'm just going to, the one thing that I can contribute with is this. When I was, for 1 year of my life, I got to play high school football before I destroyed my ACL and my knee. I know that's a meme, but I mean, I took an arrow to the knee. What can I say? One of the coaches told me, in all seriousness, like he was not kidding with me. He was not mocking me. He told me in a serious way, dude, defenders cannot see you. Like, they're not going to be able to see you when you run the football. So they're not going to know where the heck you're going. That's how I would describe Deuce Vaughn's tape. Like, he hides behind the offensive lineman, and defenders lose sight of him. They literally lose sight of him. Deuce Vaughn, that's how he wins in football. That's how he's won since high school, probably. And now he's going to try it out at the NFL. Not a prospect that probably will replace Tony Pollard as the number one guy beyond 2023 if it is needed. I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from that. But he can be a very fun number two. He can also catch footballs, obviously, as you guys know. 4 60-yard plus plays in college. And obviously, you probably already know this, but the production that he had when he was at Kansas State is insane. 1,400 yards in 2021, over 1,500 yards in 2022, and add to that at least 378 yards receiving in 2022 and 468 yards receiving in 2021. crazy, crazy production for him. I just hope that the Cowboys get on the phone with the Kansas State offensive coaches and kind of ask them, give us some behind the scenes insight as to how you used him, because they were creative with him. A lot of stuff they did with Deuce Vaughn. So very excited about that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Jalen Brooks, the 7th round pick draft pick for the Cowboys. I don't know much about him other than he's got the size and he's not a speedster. So he's not gonna be that fast guy, right? That some of you want on the Cowboys offense, that all of us want. Another Jalen, says Stephen White, and from the same school. Well, no, he's from South Carolina. He's from South Carolina. So Devon and Turpin together only take one roster spot. That's a good one. Not gonna lie, that is a pretty good one. Lost in Translation says he will be fun. Oh, I missed a super chat. Let me get to it. DC for Life, Texas says 163, 77 likes. Y'all, please get those likes up. Yeah, let's get that number up. Thank you for joining the show, by the way. If you are new here and you like and you're having fun with us, you're liking the show, you're having fun with me, subscribe and don't lose out on prime time. Don't miss out on prime time every Sunday through Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central. I am live with you talking football. And by the way, this is not going to stop. Like, I know that the draft is over. May is coming, June, July, the tough football-less months. But we're going to be around here all year long. Skywalker Steel is also going to be around here all year long with his morning show. So subscribe and don't miss out on our content. We're having fun. Finally, before we get out of here, I want to say this thing. We're going to get into the undrafted free agents a little bit more soon on prime time, but I just have one guy in mind that I want to discuss. Princeton Fant, tight end out of Tennessee. And I wrote an article about him over at adcsports.com, but he was not a Y when he was with Tennessee. He was more of an H-back, right? So this tight end that is set back from the line of scrimmage, kind of like doing tight end, fullback-ish stuff. He actually had 5 rushing touchdowns for Tennessee last year. And this quote is from Zach Reagan, who covers the Bulls over at ADC Sports. He called Fant truly a Swiss Army knife, and the Bulls would line Fant up a tight end or fullback, often using him in goal line situations when Tennessee would scrap their up-tempo spread look for a condensed formation under center. That is interesting to me for the next reason. He fits what the Cowboys love to do at the goal line, what he loves to do near the red zone, and I could see him being a surprise at the 53-man roster. Now, if you have been watching Primetime for a while now and you watched my coverage from last year's draft, here's what I'm always going to say. Like, every single year, we're going to get high in this undrafted free agent and that undrafted free agent. They're not going to do a lot, like, for the most part. Some of them do. Those are the obvious exceptions. But I'm just saying that's the one guy that I can give you some thoughts on. He was an H-back pretty much for Tennessee. That's how he projects to the next level. And I could see him being used in those sub packages for the Cowboys in 2023. As I said, I don't think those 3 tight end sets near the goal line or 4 tight end sets near the goal line, I don't think that's something that the Cowboys are going to scrap and get rid of next year, even though Kellen Moore is no longer going to be the offensive coordinator. Joey Vela says, Mauricio, once a month or week, you should take calls. I would be up to do that. I would have to figure out how to set it up because you guys know I'm in Mexico, so it might be a little bit of an issue with the phone codes and country codes. Let me see how I can figure that out. If that is something that you would like, I can consider that. I know Sky has a lot of fun with it too. Freeman Mazda right of the week is that the Yankees loses Toxic Tom. Man, the one reason why I'm not upset about that is that I have been so immersed with the NFL draft that I have barely noticed that the Yankees are losing games. For those of you who don't know, the Yankees are my guys. That's my squad. Or anyways, that will be it for me tonight. Long show. We've been having long shows here on Primetime lately. We're probably going to go back to the 30 to 40-minute format, but there's just been a lot to talk about lately for the Cowboys. So do me a favor and hit the like button. Share the stream. If you have enjoyed the show, make sure that you check it out every single night. If you have also enjoyed the show, check out adcsports.com/Dallas. We've got articles for you every single day. If you want to check out how the roster looks as of right now, you can do so there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone in the comments, except for those of you who are making fun of my Yanks. Shout out to DC for Life saying that I'm a member, Mo, and I watch your show all the time. I watch Sky every morning. That's the reason I ask for a tool. I wouldn't ask if I didn't pay for a membership every month, says DC for Life. Well, not gonna lie, I'm the boomer around these parts. I don't know how to do the tool thing. I don't even know how it works, but I'm gonna tell Sky that you said that. I'm going to see if we can take care of that. Thank you to DC for Life. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow night. Prime Time brought to you by our friends over at freemanmazda.net. Thank you so much. Nos vemos el día de mañana, 8 p.m.